following the Rust10x best practices, can you start a simple Rust project? We're going to do AIP, which is AIPACK, run procoder. Press enter. That will use for now flash 2. And the duration is 2 seconds. It's virtually free. We had 5 knowledge files, which is a Rust10x best practices, which is basically the best practices that I put in the video. I'm starting to put them into Rust10x knowledge files for AI agents. And then we have our cargo to ML, the way that I like to define them, which is with edition 2024. I forbid myself to do unsafe code. Then I have the allow unused, which sometimes I toggle off when I do development and I don't need to have all the noise. And then I have my dependencies, and I like to have them like that, which is these separators by categories. And one thing that I always start with is a derive more, because I'm using it in my error best practices, which I have the video over there, and it's actually coded over there as well by the AI. And I'm using the version 2, and I'm using the feature from. So the AI knew how to set this up at the beginning. Now, if I go to the main, I see that it follows the best practices, which is a code region for modules with all the mod error and so on. For the main.rs, lead.rs, and mod.rs, I flatten out error and result, and then I use a result like that. So it really follows the best practices that I have. Now, in the error, it's even better. I'm using derive more from. I do the type alias, which will get re-exported. And then the way that I like to start, again, I'm not using this error or anyhow. I like to use kind of native Rust errors in a way. And then I'm doing a pub enum error. And I have the custom. That is for early convenience in many ways. And I use the derive more from. And that is an example of how I map external errors. And then eventually that will mature to something a little bit more structured, but that is a very good start. And then for convenience, the thing I like to start with is to have some convenience functions like that with custom and custom from error. So that allows me to really take different of inputs. And then I have the from str as well. So this way is very close from anyhow in many ways, but it already has the structure of what I want to have later in my code. And then I have the error boilerplate. And then if I just go to another terminal, so usually I'll always have a terminal like that. And then I go to this guy, and then I will do a cargo run. And that will run my thing. So far so good. No big deal, but now it kind of works the way I wanted it to work. So let's commit that. One thing which is important with AI is to make sure that we have a good commit discipline. Start project, press enter, and then that's it. So that is already a pretty good base. So let's say that we want now to do a little bit more, obviously, and we're going to go back to our prompter, and we're going to say something like that. Can you write a hasher module with a pub hash file with path and result string, and then use a Blex3, make sure it is efficient for small and big file. So use buffer. So what we don't want is to read the whole thing in memory and then hash it. We want to make sure that we can stream the content. The result string will be base64 URL notepad. So that is just one of my requirements. It could be anything. And then for test, do not check the exact value. So when you have computed values like that, you want to make sure that the AI doesn't try to check, otherwise it go crazy, try to write some Python code or whatever. So that is a little tip. So for that, we're not going to use Flash because Flash is good for very simple tasks, but otherwise it's better to use Claude, Gemini 2.5 Pro, or O3 Mini. So we're going to look at our parametric block. So that is where we give our parameters to the agent, to the procoder. And this is where we are giving our knowledge globs. And this is our pro Rust10x. So you do a AIP install pro at Rust10x. And that is a pack that I'm maintaining with all of the Rust10x best practices that I have in my videos. So it's just the beginning. I'm going to add a lot, but I just wanted to let you know that. And so the procoder can use the Rust10x. And then I'm putting things under guide. It's like rules. And then it's base ** and *MD for now. That is a base dir because we work on the base dir. We put everything in the context. So at the beginning, when you start a project, it's good to put everything in the context. And eventually you narrow it down. I'm using the procoder for AIPACK actually, which has about 20,000 lines of code. And with this context and working globs here, which is more advanced, it really allows me to focus the AI where I want it to look. And those guys, when it's combined with those guys, are cached in Claude. So that gets very cost effective. And then we have our model aliases over there, and we're using the fast right now, which is our Flash. And we're going to use a G Pro here, which is our Gemini Pro, which is actually pretty cool. So we're going to do J Pro over there. And that is the right mode. So when it's false, it's going to put the result at the bottom of the prompt files. Otherwise, we just get the non-code at the bottom of the prompt files and everything is created in files. So right now we want to create files. So we say write true, and then that's it. And then we have our prompt over there. So we're going to close that guy. And now we go back to our AIPACK terminal. We're going to press R. I have Command R that is wired to this guy. So I'm going to do Command R. It's using the Gemini 2.5 Pro. So just to check, and boom, that's it. So we got our Gemini 2.5 Pro over there, the context files, that was that, and the knowledge files. This is our Rust best practices, and it's telling us what it does. And then the coder takes the files over there and save it there. So this is how we got it. So now let's kind of review the code. So we have this, which makes sense, the path, that's good. And then file open path, the buffer reader, and then it's creating the hasher, that's good. And then it's using the copy reader to hasher. So that is probably because the hasher of Bake 3 implement the write trait. So that has to be it, obviously, because the copy takes a reader and a writer. So this way, it does a whole kind of streaming, and that is probably the best way of doing it, or you might want to manage manually the buffer. I'm not sure which one is the best. And then we have the bytes over there, so the result. And then it's interesting, it's putting the use over there, which is uninteresting. Sometimes it does these kind of things. And then we do the encoding over here. That's pretty good. This one here, honestly, I will put that, I will go back there, and I will put it there. Okay, but that is just my preference. And then it returned that. That's pretty good. Now, the test side here, we're going to check, and it follows the Rust10x best practices, which is doing a code region like that. And then starting, recreating a result type alias with boxed in, such as we are very flexible, we can use whatever we want. And then this one, simple files, is creating a file. So that is also part of the Rust10x best practices. I have a test data folder often that I create, and then I have a .tmp. Everything that starts with dot by default is ignored by my .ignore, and so those guys will just be temporary files. They won't be committed in Git. So that's my best practices, and sometimes I might have test data that I want to keep, and in this case, they will be in another folder or something without a dot. And then I'm writing this guy over there, so far so good. The byte content arrow, create all the directory, create the files, we do the exec. So it's very cool here because this setup here where we have setup and fixtures, exec, and check, this is a Rust10x best practices. So now when I'm asking writing stuff and things, I don't have to have all my snippets. I still have my snippets sometimes, but this way here, it follows what I want to create and how I want to create them. So it's pretty awesome. And that is doing the execution, which is exactly how I will code it. And this is doing the assert. That's pretty cool. Just to check that if it's not empty. Then put in a node here, nice. And that is the other things which is very important. So again, I'm kind of obsessed with production coding and everything. And one thing that I don't want in my test without me as a human checking is to remove things, because I'm always paranoid about removing data for whatever reason. And so in my Rust10x best practices for the test section, I say when you do remove, you comment it out. So you actually add a section, but you comment out the line to do the remove, such as a human, in this case me, I'm going to check that it's okay to do that. And usually what I'm going to do is I have actually a safer remove function somewhere that does some sanity checks that I am within a cargo folder or something like that. Because again, I'm always paranoid about deleting things. So in this case, we're going to leave it there for now, commented, and then we'll come back to that later. And so there's one test that I'm like it. And so we're going to go back over there and we're going to do a cargo build first. Everything fine. There's a little bit of warning, it's fine. So the warning is because I have the cargo over there. I can toggle this one and I don't see the warning when I do cargo build. That is why it's part of my best practice when I'm maturing the API. And now I'm going to do a cargo test. And boom, it passes. And it creates this file, which has this guy, and then it passes the test. So far, so good. So nothing magical here, but this is a lot of things, because now when you grow your project like that, it will follow the Rust best practices. And the way you install the Procoder is AIPACK, AIP, install Pro at Coder. So that will install the Pro at Coder. And then you can do AIPACK, AIP, install Pro at Rust10x. And so those are the two I'm writing. And they are virtually nothing. It's like 9 kilobytes or something like that. And they are super small, and they are both open source, and you can check them in the AIPACK repos. So you go to GitHub AIPACK-AI over there, and then you have the AIPACK, the AIPACK VS Code, the JC. So that was the old one. I'm going to still have some experiment over there. But now the one that I'm maintaining is a Packs Pro. So that is where I put all the packs. And I have my Pro pack over there, which is my coder and my Rust10x. Now, you can create your own pack. So things doesn't have to be on the Pro pack, obviously. This is just my namespace. So you can create your own things. You can do a AIPACK, AIP pack, and then you have some folder. And we're going to have some tutorial about that, but you can do your own pack with your own things. It will do a .AIPACK that you can then put in your HTTP or anywhere and install it from there. And then later, I will have a AIPACK publish to allow people to publish their own AIPACK. So it's going to be awesome. So hopefully that was a pretty good example of the power of the AIPACK and Pro Coder. And until next one, happy coding.